Hello, my name is LaDonna Williams at Liberating LaDonna on IG and the host of Liberating Conversations. And today I am super excited to have my friend, my sister, poet and author of Journey, the Soul of a Poet, MayaHouston. Girl, I am so happy to have you with me. And all of you who are viewing, please share with your friends, your families, your neighbors, because this is going to be an amazing conversation. I just know it is. This is going to be great.
I'm excited. I've been waiting for this for a while.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you for actually like jumping in and getting started. I can remember when you started talking about this, when it was just a notion, a thought, from a thought to an actual goal, from a goal to a vision, from the vision to planning and action, and now here we are. And I think that is so cool. I commend you for that.
And thank you for being there with me, girl. I
love it. A great time.
We are accountability partners. And like to be able to have someone to turn to and be like, sis, I don't know if this is gonna work out. And then you be like, put on your big girl panties and move on. Like you got this.
Let's break this thing up. What's going on? We started tackling it in phases and stages. Like, we're not gonna cry. We might cry a little, but once we're done crying, we're gonna start planning.
I love how we will talk and we got the answers all along. Those are my favorite moments. When you come to that conclusion, nah, you had it all along.
Just needing that support and reassurance.
Yes. All right, sis, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, so we will begin how we always do with this one question. Who are your people?
My people are Mary T. Houston. The T is for Taylor. The Taylors are connected to the Williams, Whites, and Browns of Holly Hill, South Carolina, Conway, Utahville, Calhoun County, around about Orangeburg, South Carolina, as well as Truman Houston, that's my dad, son of, well, this is my mom and my dad. You would think that they're like happily ever after, like still married, but they're not. They just like two cool folk that's like, we're going to do what we need to do for the kids. Let's get these pictures popping, right?
I love it. We need more of that.
Truman Houston, who's my father, son of Irene and Lon Houston. They're connected to the Cantys and Bradshaws of Williamsburg, South Carolina, Williamsburg County, Manning, South Carolina. I have pictures of this. So this is my mother's parents. So that's my grandmother, my grandfather, Johnny and Virginia Taylor. This is the best picture I have of my grandmother. This is an obituary picture. I'm sorry. That's Irene Houston, right? And then my grandfather at Lon Houston. I have to be a little creative here, guys, because I don't have a paper photo of him.
Hello.
So you saw the Holly Hill, South Carolina side, and you saw the Manning, South Carolina side, right? By the name of Zion. It's my heart, my one and only, my big girl. I also have 2 sisters and 3 brothers that I won't hold their pictures up because I don't have a group picture of all of us. That'll be the next video.
Yes.
While I'm honoring my people and telling you who they are, I like to also honor those that have passed on, aunts, uncles, cousins, close family members, and especially, because this lays heavy on my heart, 2 of my cousins. One of the things that we as a family, in fact, have come strong advocates of are fighting against domestic violence. So I have 2 cousins that I lost to domestic violence. One was as early as the early 90s. Her name is Carmelithia Harris. So her kids were a little older than this when she passed. This is Karma. Karma, yeah, but we call her Karma. Her two kids, Jessica and Javon, full grown children now, like grown folk with kids of their own. And as recently as 2013, my cousin Kia, we lost her to domestic violence as well. So I take this time to just honor them, to say their names, and to send love, blessings, peace, and thanks for the guidance, because I know that they have transitioned, that they've not died or gone away, that their energies have just transferred. So just take a moment to honor them and all the other ancestors. Give thanks, love, and appreciation for guidance and protection. Thank you.
I just breathe that moment in, and thank you for uplifting that, because we know, especially in this time when we're in COVID and like people is not as bad now, but there are people who are still stuck at home and having to be at home with people that are not good for their health and well-being. And so to honor that and to always keep that in mind, like you never know what people are dealing with.
Exactly.
Yeah, so thank you, my sister. I always think of you as that person, like you embody so much history, and like in our conversation, girl, you taught me about things that I didn't know, like the Gullah Geechee Wars. I didn't know about these things. So
I'm still learning. I'm a student. You teach me as well. I'm still learning every day.
but I always, when I think of you, I always see you as this, I don't know, I just say this earthy sister, that someone who is connected with nature and history and ancestral type embodied wisdom in such a way that I have not seen a lot of, you know. There are just some people that you're like, you got it.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like I got a ways to go. I always I see people like India Ari or like Erica Badu, and I'm like, I wish I could just be in my Badu-ish ways like all day, every day. But I still feel like it's like I feel like they are that very earthy, very like, listen.
And I'm like, and here I am saying, you is that. Like
I received that, and I will continue to work on being more of that. Thank you.
Yes, you is that. That's exactly who you are. I mean, like you. When I first met you, so we met at in theater. So you were the second person from my theater program from Clayton State that I have talked
Clayton
with.
State University.
We'll CSU theater folks. And we've worked together so many times before, and you know, it's just, I have to say that it's just an honor to have you on today, and it's an honor knowing you, and like to be able to call you my sister and to know your family and your oh, okay, so if y'all were on a couple of weeks ago when I was talking with Ms. Barbara, I think I uplifted that story where like I was playing a muse and I scared two people who were in the audience. This is the Maya, and those were her folks. It was her mama. Yeah. It was your sister, wasn't it?
It was my mom and her friend.
Her friend. Okay. Yeah.
Mama.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, roll the tape back.
Mama.
It was me. It was me. So if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, please go back to episode 2 with Miss Barbara, where we had this conversation, because it was an awesome conversation that we had. So yay.
I have to ask my mom if she remembers that. That was a really fun play. It was really good. I thought it was amazingly creative and skillful in the way Professor Thrash wove like all three plays together,
Mm-hmm.
and then included spoken word. I'm for that all day.
Yes.
Um, it was a really good play. Echoes of the South. That's what
Mm-hmm.
that one was. It
Yes.
was
And it's
those
not,
writers were really good.
oh yeah, yeah. So it's not too often that we as actors get a chance to create our own pieces. And I mean, to there were two created works. Like there was one play and then another play, and we wove these stories together. And so we were able to create our own dialogue and our own characters. And like I think it was like one of the flyest things ever.
I love the fact that she allowed us to play up our strengths too. Because for me, I was pretty new to theater, but she knew that I was a spoken word artist. So she's like, "Write a poem. We're gonna you're gonna be a spirit. You're gonna be telling us." I was like, "Okay, do that." That was pretty cool.
Oh
That
yeah.
was.
Oh man. Oh, those were the days. But you know what? Now we have, because of those days, we have so much more creative works to do. It was like this foundational ground for us to build on, and we've done so many great works since then, and we're gonna do a lot more great works from now until.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely.
So okay, so tell me about childhood. Like what, tell me about where you grew up. Tell me, I don't know, tell me all those things.
Where I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina. The beautiful Charleston downtown. Like I'm a true Charlestonian, not like how some people are like they live on the outskirts. They be like, I live in Charleston. No, I lived in the city of Charleston, downtown. Um, by the time I reached middle school, um, my parents were divorcing, so my dad still has a home in downtown Charleston, but my mom and I and my sister, we ended up moving into the West Ashley area. So between downtown and West Ashley is where I lived, but I always claimed downtown as home. Um, Really cool. I loved living in the city of Charleston because everything was in walking distance. Well, I'll say because we were in the city and we had sidewalk, we walked a lot. Whether it was a realistic walking distance or not, you're youthful, you got a lot of energy, so we would walk everywhere, everywhere. And I love the fact that where we lived, you could go in like 6 different directions or more from my dad's house and end up at any one of my other family members' homes.
Mm.
That was pretty cool, you know. Visiting my grandparents. One of my grandparents lived behind us. My dad he's got a house and he's got a small apartment in the house, a small apartment behind our house.
Mm-hmm.
So my grandmother lived there, so I was always able to just like go out the back door and go hang out with her, get some good cooking, get some good teaching. She's constantly checking on me about my health and everything else, great stuff. And then I could either hop on my bike or just lace up my sneakers and walk on around the corner, down the block, across the park, and go see my other grandmother and my grandfather. And anytime you go there, there's gonna be quite a few people there. My grandmother that lived across the park, Miss Taylor, Virginia and Johnny, they actually had 16 children. And so 16 children. And so each of those children had a great deal of children, right? And we were all finding like the meeting place was, if not at my grandmother's house, at one of the other sisters' houses, right? One of my aunts or uncles' houses. My cousins and I, we grew up like one of my cousins always said, I don't need friends, I got cousins. And a lot of them. My cousins and I are like more like sisters and brothers. Like my daughter calls my first cousins her aunts or her uncles.
Mm.
That's really special to me. I love that. I love that. And their children call me Aunt Maya.
Mm.
Like my grandmother made sure she taught us how to stick together. She taught us the importance of just bonding and looking out for each other. And she wasn't even doing it in a way that was noticeable or systematic. It was like she was showing us along the way how to care for each other, not only by caring for us, but if one of us fell short on the other, you were gonna get checked about that quickly. And eventually it was just a natural thing. Like what you do to her, you doing to me. And I'm not gonna let you do all kinds of stuff to me, so you ain't gonna do all kinds of stuff to her or him. Or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really love that. I love that. I love that. My dad's mother, my goodness, she did not have 16s like my grandmother, my granddad on my mom's side. I think it might have been like maybe 10.
Close
Not too
enough.
far away.
But close enough.
Let me see. Wait, no, I will tell you. Goodness, how many kids did my grandmother have? I have to really think and name all of my aunts and uncles that are in Manning. So my Manning family members, there were 2 aunts that I saw all the time, and that I'm like just I could walk down the street at the very corner. I could climb a fence and be in one of my aunt's backyards, and the other one, So it's like those are the people that you're around the most. So of course, those are the people that are going to stick out of my head the most. We didn't go to Manning regularly, but yeah, my grandmother, she definitely did not have 16 on that side. Yeah, no more than 8 or 10. I can't remember. I would have to take the time to count them out. But still, even in that, close knit, really cool, good people.
Right.
Yeah, family. I love family. So being from Charleston, I'm a Gullah Geechee person, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Geechee girl, and I say that proudly. Um,
Be proud.
there was a time where people were ashamed of that the term. If you call someone Geechee, you better get ready to fight.
Why is that?
Geechee had a negative connotation in that whenever someone said that you were Geechee, or if they called you, like if they made reference to your Gullah roots, I think mostly because of the dialect, the way we speak, it was considered broken English. It was considered to be ignorant, which is quite the contrary. Gullah culture and Geechee speak itself is it's a whole nother language. So we're actually bilingual, but I think the people that would be ashamed of it and that they would be willing to fight behind it, it's just that they didn't know enough about it to defend it, right? So I actually moved to Georgia, and when I moved to Atlanta, there were several people, they would say to me, gosh, you Geechee. And I'm like, oh, thank you, That was kind of like, they thought they were insulting me. And I'm like, oh, thank you. And they're like, girl, that ain't no compliment, but it is. And I would have to break it down to them and help them understand. Listen, being Geechee, you wish you were Geechee. Being Geechee symbolizes strong ties to our African culture. The Gullah people are one of the only people, one of the oldest living cultures that actually held on to a lot of their African ties. Language, cooking, ways of life, you know what I mean? Like I can remember growing up, I have an Aunt Pearl, and she was married. She married my Uncle James. Well, no, Uncle James married my Aunt Pearl. So they all the same, right? And my grandmother, she never recognized in-laws. She only had children, right? So once you came to marry one of her kids, you became her kid. If you came alone, you became her kid alone. But if you came with children, guess what? Those children are now our children. And sometimes you could come with like ex-wives and told, now your ex-wife is our friend too. It's like, it's all love. But my Aunt Pearl, my uncle James, we called him Flugie, Uncle Flugie. He had family in St. Stephen's. And so we would go visit St. Stephen's every now and then. And when we would go, we would have to like pull this route we would always be like, why are we pulling these weeds? Why are we pulling these weeds? And she would like for us to pull this weed so she could come back home and make tea, right? And so I kept hearing people say, I never knew exactly what they were saying initially. They're like, you better come on out here and get some of this life molasses. I'm thinking they're saying life molasses. But they're speaking so fast, in some cases using that whole Gullah dialect, they're really saying life everlasting. So I was like, okay, so we would pick this sticky looking, dried up weed, and we would have bags of it going back home to Charleston, and my aunt would make tea, and anything that ailed you, they swore that it would heal you. Life everlasting is what it was called. But I later learned that it was actually echinacea root.
Hmm.
So it's like, as I got older and I started seeing echinacea on everything, I was like, my aunt been doing that a long time ago. Like, we've been doing that.
Isn't that funny? Like how you been done this, and then like it
Yeah.
just becomes the new. No, it's new to you. Like a couple of years ago when like the Butters, you remember the lady? It was like, you Black people, you've been hanging, you've been keeping all the Butters away from us, and like
Yes, I saw that video.
but she was like, nah, it's new to me. But other people would be like, I found this new thing. We discovered it. No, you didn't.
Right. You know, that is a thing with them, though. You know, not, no ill intent. Just shooting straight from the hip. It's like anything that we live on, anything that we cultivate and just do naturally, daily, regularly, most times until they discover it, it's either frowned upon or it's considered to be not valid or good or real or right, right? And then they put their hands on it, and now it's chic. You know, now it's savvy. Now it's what do they want to call forthcoming? It's groundbreaking. That's every day. That's the way of life for us. Like you said, we've been messing with the shea butters. We've been, you know what I mean, picking the echinacea root. We was calling life molasses, life everlasting. You know, it's like I don't understand that. I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, why is it that once you touch it, it's legit? But we was living it all along. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
like these box braids, like, you know, having, well, first of all, not just box braids, like having cornrows.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how we keep our hair. That's how we grew up.
And for some of us, that's the only way we can keep our hair.
The only way we can. You agree? As you start with your dolls, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, you in there and you braiding, you doing your thing. It's like a part of your DNA. It's like, this is just what we do. It's a natural thing. And it's also not considered to be professional looking, or it's not acceptable. It's considered to be hood or ghetto. But then when one of them put it on their heads, it's like, it's chic. It's a new style. New for who? No, that's not new, baby.
Yeah. Well, and then also now that you're talking about this, thinking about the Kalageechee culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like how the land is disappearing, you know, and like how that land was unwanted for years, but now it's like prime real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, you know, that happens in cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Oh, in terms, when I said that, I mean gentrification. It happens in cycles, and it's unfortunate. It's like people are constantly being like switched around, moved around, displaced. Some figure it out, some don't. The thing that makes it more crucial for me in regards to the Gullah people or Gullah culture, as you stated, it's like there were areas where Gullah people lived where they could go right out their front yards and they could pull sweetgrass and they could do what's known as sweetgrass basket weaving, which is something that is really strong and it's a strong, beautiful craft that has really strong ties, direct ties to Sierra Leone, West Africa. There are only going to be 3 places in the world where you find it. You know what I mean? Sierra Leone, West Africa, Charleston, South Carolina, and Savannah, Georgia. You may find other types of basket weavers, other people weaving different materials, but sweetgrass baskets, only 3 places. Using bulrush, only 3 places. And even if they're using bulrush or similar material, the technique is not going to be the same. And so for me, this topic is definitely a crucial one. It is something that's saddening, maddening, because of the fact that people can just come in over and over again, like historically, generationally, and just change your entire setup, change your life, like just straight up disturb, disrupt, and just stop what you're doing. Like I said, these people, like there are family members that lived in an area of Charleston that's known as Mount Pleasant. In Mount Pleasant, there was a lot of like property where family members owned a lot of property. That's not just Mount Pleasant. You got like Johns Island, James Island. But I'm speaking specifically on Mount Pleasant because years back, there was a huge movement of eminent domain where lots of properties were taken from people. Some of them may have been properly compensated, but from what I understand, a lot of them were not properly compensated or not compensated at all. And they ended up like moving these people's properties back and placing buildings like tire stores and other shops and everything else. They widened highway, placed tire stores, shopping centers, restaurants, all in the way of their land. Some of them were able to get up out of there completely. But if you go down Highway 17 right now in Mount Pleasant today, there's a strip that if you walk far enough down this road and you look at the back of the tire store, you're still going to see someone's house pushed back like on the dirt road, pushed back off in the like. But all of that was probably their property. Like their property probably went from where the store is into the center of nearing the center of the street, right? Because they used to like line up outside their homes. They would have like these wooden like, what do you want to call, like sheds? They have these wood sheds, and they would come out of their homes with their material that they could pull from their yards, that they could get from their neighbors. They would sit there and they would weave these intricate baskets. And the beautiful thing is that, like I said, it's not like once they got here, they started doing that. It's like, it's something that they actually brought from West Africa. And that's the beautiful thing of it. That's also the frustrating thing about it. It's like they just straight up disregarded all of that, paved all that area, uprooted all the sweet grass, and then to make it worse, you can't even pick sweetgrass freely anymore. You have to have a permit, and if you don't have a permit, you can get a fine.
Wow.
Right.
And how much is the permit? Do you know?
I don't know how much the permit is. I haven't, because I am not a sweetgrass basket weaver, and it's not something that I go harvest or I go pick. I never thought to find out how much the permits cost, but I can find out for you.
Yeah, because the reason why I asked, I'm like, to understand the extra hardship, right? So like these baskets, you don't just weave them and they be done in like an hour or two. Like these are things that take hours upon hours, and then you have to sell them. And like thinking back, like, girl, I remember one time we were pricing some sweetgrass baskets. This was way back in the day, right? And like someone quoted a basket at being like $100 and something. And like for us, we were like, it was too much. But now looking back, thinking about the hours of time, right? And like the wear and tear that it puts on your hands and your
history.
And the history of it. But like, to be compensated your time, and then also to add the extra layer of like having to pay the government for something that grows freely in the wild, you know?
Exactly.
I mean, like, it grows freely. You ain't gonna do nothing with it.
Exactly. And then and all of that, it's like you said, the time, the skill, for me, the history of it all. I have a friend that she has a cousin that weaves baskets, and she was telling me that they were at a convention where there's like a sweetgrass basket convention, where they were all set up, everyone just to kind of display their baskets. The amazing thing to me is the transcontinental connection that is still there and is still very strong. And this is one of the things that add to the strength of Gullah people and Gullah culture. Because she's sitting here with her cousin, these baskets that she's woven. So there was a man from Africa that came through. He had his baskets as well. He was from West Africa. She said that this man picked up her cousin's basket and he was like almost emotional, she said. He was amazed. He picked it up. She said he lifted it up. He turned it over, and he was explaining to her that her craftsmanship was similar to one of someone that he knows back home. Like, I think you can't make stuff like that. I think that's amazing, and I love that beautiful connection.
Yeah,
I love that beautiful connection. I love that that connection is only exclusive to South Carolina, to Savannah, and all the way across the ocean back home. I think that's amazing. Of course, after everyone was brought over and displaced in so many different areas, upon having to assimilate, so much was lost. So it makes me value even more all that we kept. When someone calls me Geechee, I'm like, thank you. I know, right? Who, me? I'm like, who, me? I Geechee? I know, right?
I love it. I
know, right? I'm from Charleston. I know, right? I ain't said nothing but a beautiful thing. Yes. Look at you, what you know about baskets, huh?
I said, I'm jealous now. No, thank you. I'm grateful for my culture.
You're an honorary Geechee girl.
Yeah. Now I need to learn the language.
I got you on that.
I love it.
When you come down, you'll have to go with me on a Gullah tour with Mr. Alfonso Brown.
Girl, I'm ready. I'm ready.
You're gonna love it. He is
tell COVID to go away so we can do
it. He's one of the premier tour guides. Is very authentic because he's from an area that spoke the language, lives the language, like still speaks and lives the language, in an area that's called Rantoul, South Carolina. Listen, I'm telling you, it's a great experience. And I love the fact that he's really balanced about his tours. He gives the colonial history of it all when he's touring Charleston, and he also gives the other side of it. The Black side of it, the Gullah side of it. He's gonna tell you everything. I love the fact that he's honest in that way. Like, some people would some people will absolutely turn the tour into whatever it is that their perception of certain things are. But anything that he says, you could check it out. It's in writing, it's historically there, and then he turns around and he also gives you our experience.
Yeah.
And I love that authenticity.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
What that reminds me of is like when you go on like a plantation tour and they're like, the slaves are happy, they love being here. You're like, this was their home.
That part. That part.
I was reading this book one time. Oh man, I can't think of the book. I'll post it later when it comes to me. But he was talking about how the enslaved were not well fed. And he went on this tour. The writer went on the tour of a plantation, and it was like one of the most notorious plantations wherever he was. And he was like, the tour guide was like, yeah, I love this place. They were always well fed. And he was like, says who? Da da da. They were, he was like, they were given rations of food twice a month. Rations of food, like a piece of meat and like some type of grain. And he was like, do you know how much they worked? Like, how is that ever enough food to eat? And I'm
So
like,
he was just busting out per tour, huh?
to the point where he became the tour guide.
That's what I'm talking
What I
about.
perceived from this, like, and like this whoever was doing the tour was just like,
That's what I'm talking about.
they really enjoyed this place.
Listen, lesson one. That's the first lesson. When the people who are leading you are not leading you properly, honestly, or right, get them out the way and you take the lead. When you know better, you do better.
Yes. Let
Move
me
out the way.
educate you today.
Take the wheel. Take the wheel.
Yeah.
Not wrong with taking the wheel. If you know what you're talking about.
I know, right? Don't be just going up and saying stuff, right? Like, and I'm also like really hesitant because like I read this like a couple of weeks ago, but it was like a really gruesome book because it also talked about how slaves were literally being eaten.
How they were being eaten? Yeah, I'm not surprised.
And I was like,
I'm not surprised.
yeah. But anyways, I
Yeah,
digress.
you have to put the name of that book in.
I will. I just don't. I want to look for it because I'm like, I know where it's at, but I want to continue on with where we're going. Yeah, I'll post it later. What am I? Girl, I just got off track. Like, this was so much history and like thinking about, let's talk about these sweetgrass baskets because I know that your daughter was taught a little bit.
Yeah, she was. So my daughter, we were visiting when we lived in Atlanta. We were visiting Charleston, and we ended up taking a walk down on the market. We actually ended up going over there where I'm trying to remember what they call it. I think they call it the I can't remember. I want to say Four Corners of Justice. I want to say they call it the Four Corners of Justice because in this square there are 4 different legal buildings. Like there's a courthouse, like a magistrate office, like an attorney's offices, like, and they're all right on the corner all the way downtown. And there were these basket weavers, and they were sitting out there. And I had a camera, so I was taking pictures of Z and just us doing the walk or whatever. One of the ladies, she took to this lady by the name of Miss Laurie Bunno. She took to Miss Bunno like she just walked up to her and was like pretty much her elbows in her laps, like just kind of paying attention closely to how she was weaving her basket. So Miss Bunno asked her what her name was, how old she was. And at the time, she was probably 7. And she was like, she was asking, she said, do you want to try it? And so Miss Bunno actually sat there and taught Zion how to weave the basket, explained to her that the instrument that she was holding was called a nail bone. And then the nail bone actually is something that they use to help them work the materials in between one another as they're weaving. And it looks like either it's like the handle of a shaving spoon or a shaved off fork. And so Miss Bunno was giving her this beautiful history right there. And I was like, wow, I'm taken by this. So I'm listening and I'm learning too. And I asked Miss Bunno, I was like, you mind if I record you while you're talking or while you're showing her? And Miss Bunno allowed me to record her and take pictures. And from that moment, I was actually preparing to work on my capstone project at Clayton State University just before graduation. And in that moment, I was like, this is what I'm going to do my play about. And so row upon row, a play about Gullah culture, sweetgrass basket weaving was born. Yes. And so to this day, Zion still has the basket that she was kind of weaving on that day.
Oh,
And Miss Buno actually ended up helping me learn. And I have like a partially finished basket. I would show it off, but I would have to leave the camera space to do that. And it's not that impressive, so we
no,
won't do
girl, show it. Show it. If you would show it. You're like,
it.
proud of your work.
I
Because
should, as a
listen,
matter of fact, huh? What?
I'm gonna say, listen, because you're doing something that most of us have not had the opportunity. And so you have your foot in history.
And I'm grateful. And guess what? It's funny you say that because you say I'm doing something that most of us don't have the chance to. What's funny, or I don't know if it's beautiful, is the fact that most of us in Charleston did not have the chance to do it because only people in Mount Pleasant, like Sweet, they sell it downtown on the market, but only people in Mount Pleasant, and I don't, maybe different islands like John's Island, maybe. Though, as far as I know, Mount Pleasant are the only families that knew how to do sweetgrass basket weaving. They would only teach their family members. Like, it would not teach anyone that was not in the family. The only way you could learn if you were not born into that family is if you were married into that family. And they would teach you how to weave. So I found it to be an honor that Ms. Buno would actually sit there, not only teach me how to weave, but she gave me my own nail bone. She gave me the supplies that I needed to, to do this. That was an honor. If Mount Pleasant, everyone that lived in that area, and they would go down into the city, like along Highway 17 in Mount Pleasant, they would sell their baskets. But then when they started doing all of this expanding of the highway and eminent domain and all this stuff, but even before that, people would go downtown on the market to sell their baskets. I didn't know any downtown natives, West Ashley, North Charleston, any of those other areas. I never knew anyone to know how to do the baskets. I think that's pretty cool. Let me run and show you my little basket.
Yeah. So, while you're doing, oh my gosh, isn't that such great history that we're learning? Oh my gosh. So I love how Maya interweaves like all of this history into her art. I love that. Hey Maya, you back.
Check this out. So this is my nail bone. I told you that it looks like a
Oh wow.
handle that they shaved down, right?
Wow.
And then this is my partially made sweetgrass basket. I didn't get to finish it.
Girl, listen, that's a whole, so when you said partially, I thought it was just gonna be like the bottom. Girl, you can actually hold stuff in it. And actually, I think I remember this basket because you bought some. Oh, wait, when you did Row Plum Row, didn't you like
The basket I was weaving on the stage.
okay. And didn't one of the Sweetgrass artists come down?
Miss Buno, the same lady that was teaching. Yep, that was
Oh my gosh, yes, I remember.
the lovely Miss Buno. And Miss Buno was so awesome. How about this? Miss Buno was like, she would call me. She had already done her part. She didn't have to do anything else. She would call me and say, "You finished that work? You did what you need to do?" Ma'am, I was like, "But I'm still working on so and so and so. Did you do what I told you to do?" "No, ma'am, not yet." "I could beat you, Maya. I could beat you." Right? So it was funny because she's like, "I want you to get a good grade." Everything she did, she's like, we want to make sure you get a good grade. "You need anything else from me? Tell me what you need. You want me to come up there and so and so?" "Yes, ma'am, would you?" Miss Buno came up. She brought a ton of baskets. She gave us some history. And like I said, in between that time, she was on me. Like, "Did you do so-and-so? Did you add this to so-and-so? Did you blah, blah, blah?" I'm like, oh, I forgot. I could beat you, man. "I want you to get a good grade. You gotta get an A. We going to the top. We going for the top." She said, we ain't gonna happen. I love that. I love that. Not because she was wanting me to go for the top, but because she embodies the nature of a lot of the women that I know. If it's like, if I can't help you, I'm not gonna hurt you. And whatever you want for yourself, I want it just as much. And whatever we could do to help you achieve that, we're gonna do that. It's like when I'm on your team, I'm on your team. You got you a good get you woman on your team. She on your team.
I
A
love it.
good get you woman. Okay?
Mhm.
Get you people, got little people, them some good people. Good people.
Mhm.
I'm trying
So
to tell you.
there has been, so I've been having some conversations lately about the era that, you know, that they grew up in also,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, because you see that maybe not to the full extent where I'm calling you every day, have you done that, I'm gonna beat you, but I also
I could beat
see
you. I could beat you.
hmm maybe not to that full extent, right?
Okay.
But it's still this support, and I long for you to do well, because you're not just doing well for yourself, and it's not just about you, it's about all of us.
Yep.
She adopted you into her family.
She did. She
Yeah.
did. She came up, her daughter came. She would have me talk with her husband, like anything she could show me, she did.
hmm
Yes.
I remember this. I remember this now that we're talking about it. I'm like, oh
And while I am focused, like I feel like I sometimes am hyper focused on sweetgrass, there's so many other aspects of the Gullah culture, like fishing and crabbing, like farming, uh, the cuisine that we have. Like there are, if I'm when I lived in Georgia, I was that's known as red rice. And most people were like, never heard of red rice. Like, you talk about Spanish rice? No, I said red rice. You talk about ketchup and rice? I said red rice. Right?
yeah. I'm
It's
like,
like most people are like, I never had it. Like okra soup, which some people kind of liken to New Orleans gumbo, but it's really different. It's slightly different. I feel like the taste is different. Um, it's just there's so many other things. Like I said, the way we relied on the ocean in terms of having a lot of seafood dishes. Like at our play, we issued a small thing of rice with a recipe for crab fried rice that was attached to it. So there's so much like I said, farming, cooking, um, just the cuisine in general. And a lot of that stuff too, if you were to research certain areas in like West Africa, like if you look at Angola, if you look at Sierra Leone, the menu or the foods are pretty much the same. Like they do a lot of rice dishes, a lot of like okra. We do a lot of stuff with okra. Like I stated, the okra soup. Like I'm supposed to be going home to visit my mom today, and I already put in my order. I was like, Mom, you got some okra and shrimp? Could you please do me some okra and shrimp? And we would put that on a bed of white rice. So, she was like, I don't know about that. I don't know. I ain't got no shrimp. But my mom is the type of woman that by the time I get there, she will have found some shrimp. Wink, wink. that's that's so I mean there's just so much. So much. I'm always hyper focused, like I said, on sweetgrass, but there's so many other aspects of Gullah. So the language in of itself, like I stated earlier, people think that Gullah is a broken English. It's not a form of broken English. It was actually deemed a language in either 1937 or 1939. Actually, a language, and we are literally bilingual. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what people perceive as ignorant is absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
But historically, that's exactly what would happen, right? Like, and that's how people became enslaved, right? Like it became, you dehumanize folks, you
Absolutely.
name them and branded them as savages, and like we have to teach you how not to be a savage, when like these were whole civilizations that held original mathematicians,
Yes.
original astrologists.
Yes.
They were sailing to this land long before anybody else.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And you know it's something deep when you even write out the Vikings. Okay, you write out the Vikings and then you name Christopher Columbus as the discoverer. Like you didn't even give credit to the Vikings. Like, okay. Now I can see you not wanting to uplift the African,
You can see that? I can't see that.
No. I'm not. I mean, like, but historically, like, I can see that. But like, when you write out your own people, like, you know, it's deep. You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying that it's right. It's not right.
Okay, this is a part of the plan.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's deep. Like I mean, you write us out of everything, but you wrote out your own folks. Like, you did not. The Vikings. I mean, these your people. They look just like you.
Oh, see, now you're touching on something completely different. You said it looks just like them. But if they're not deemed to be, or if they're not accepted as their own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's an interesting twisted history. It really is. It's an interesting twisted history. It really is. And I feel like we could talk about that for days. For days.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. I digress. But yeah, I love that. And I love that our nation isn't just one culture or one language, even though, you know, that's what it's stated as, but it's not.
I think that's what makes it great, though. Mm-hmm. Diversity. Diversity makes it great. It's a sad situation where you've got like one group of people that feels like the only way something can be right, acceptable, or maintained is if it is controlled and contained. It has to look just like them. Like, that's crazy to me. My mom used to always say, I used to get frustrated with people that didn't think like me, or like if I didn't understand how people operated. And she would say, she would say this so much that now I hear it in my head whenever other people look. For me, she taught me acceptance really early on. So she would always say, like, she wouldn't even go into like this deep explanation. She wouldn't go into like comforting or coddling me. Like, I'm just on a whole other, I'm upset. She's like, well, baby, she said, it take all kinds. She would say, it takes all kinds. And I'm like, the first couple of times I heard her say it, it didn't really click until I started running into all kinds. And she was like, it takes all kinds. She said, it takes all kinds to make up this world. It's like, you cannot be bothered, upset, or moved by the fact that someone is not doing what you're doing, how you moving, or thinking how you're thinking. It takes all kinds. And I'm talking about, they could be like just doing what I might consider to be like, oh my goodness, like, that's just too much. That's crazy. Like, it takes all kinds. I don't care what I tell her. I could come home to her with the worst. She gonna look at me and say, it takes all kinds. You just make sure you are not, you know. And she would set the standard. It takes all kinds. So while you doing what you know you're supposed to do, you don't live in judgment of the next person. You know, you don't be moved so easily and emotionally, you know, moved by what other people are doing, because all day long, not even at the end of the day, all day long, it takes all kinds.
I love that. Ooh, girl, I'm gonna keep that word. Look, I just wrote it down. It takes all kinds. I love that.
She definitely taught me acceptance with that one.
Yeah, I mean, even as you stated, like, your family accepted people, right?
Yes.
Like, you're into that family. The ex-wife girl and her kids.
Why not? So, well, every time we got a gathering, she might be right there.
That's
Huh?
why most of us is trying to get rid of the exes. No, nope.
Tell her to come on. You want something to eat? Come on.
But we need that. Oh my gosh. Like even how you were talking about your parents at the beginning and them taking pictures together, and they came to grips with like we have to work together in order to make this thing work and to make sure that our kids are good. Even if
Yeah.
it's taking, but like also what I see in that is to honor, because at some point in time you love that person.
Yeah.
And at some point in time they meant the world to you. And just because things didn't work out, and just because now you can't be together, to honor the times that you did love them.
Exactly. You just can't throw people away. It's like family. We're gonna be family regardless. We're family. It didn't work out, but we're family. Period. So, I thought that was it was a proud moment for me. I felt like that was a shining example because, like I told you, they separated. By the time I was in middle school, probably elementary school, they separated. That picture was taken when my daughter was born, and Zion is 15 years old now. But the suggestion was made, like to have some family pictures for the grand, and it was like, all right, what we wearing? What we gotta be at? Everybody wear white. Everybody show up as fierce, and there were no quarrels about it. It just came together, and it wasn't like we're taking this picture and you got to be on that side, and I got to be on that side. No, the photographer did not know that they weren't married. You know what I mean? So she's like, okay, you guys, we're just gonna pose like, and they was right there like,
I love that. I love that.
pretty cool. I appreciate them for that.
Yeah. I mean, like, and it teaches us that love, like, they had to have been friends before, right? Like, and I know that, like, sometimes relationships fall apart and, like, it can get, like, real nasty. And, like, but there comes a point in time when you just gotta be like,
We family. But guess what? There were rough times.
mm-hmm.
There were rough times, and you get over it. And
Yeah.
that's what they did. I am proud of them for that. I'm proud to even share that. You know what I mean? And like I said, it taught me a lesson. Like just if things may not work out, but like I said, there was a certain amount of love that was there previously. It's important to honor the people that you love or once loved, and you gotta come together. So yeah, I love that. And they have a really cool relationship. Like if my mom needed something done around the house or whatever, like my dad would make sure she's good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's pretty cool. I like that.
That's something that, man, I think all of us could learn from that.
Yeah, he's an honorable dude. You know what I'm saying? I love it.
To think about like how many kids are suffering right now because people can't just come together and say like
This
using
is for the family.
fridge, well, you ain't gonna see that because I'm like, oh my gosh, how much could we learn from that? Like, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It also speaks to leaving a place well, right? Like the relationship has broken down, but at some point in time, like there comes a time where you have to leave that well in order to move on. Even if you can't talk to that person, even being well with yourself and saying like, I loved you and it's okay. It's okay to have loved you. I learned,
Right.
I grew, even if it's like, I know I ain't gonna do this one no more. Okay.
That part.
That's still growth. Like I know what not to do next time.
Listen, that part. I love that.
I mean, I all got them like
I like what you say. It's important to leave a place well. I love that. That's so true. I love that. My cousin used to always tell me, she's like, when I was moving out of my mom's house, well, I would always talk about moving out of my mom's house, probably since I was like 12. And so when the time really came, she would always say, make sure you leave right, because you never know when you have to go back. She's like, so you make sure you do what you're supposed to do. You still need to honor your mom. You need to be respectful, and make sure you leave right, because you never know when you have to go back. I was like, so I love that. So you guys kind of, your messages match in that way. It's important to leave well. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to finding a place that I don't have to leave at all. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Look, we're going to snap the rose.
I don't want to go nowhere.
Look, it's coming. It's coming. And it's going to come much sooner than what you think. Ooh, let me tell you, this man told me the other day, he said, just because you can't see it don't mean it ain't going to happen.
Okay. I trust that.
And he was like, and you know what I'm talking about. And I don't know. As a girl, I'm sitting here like, I don't know. He was like, just because you can't see it doesn't mean that it's not going to come. You just ain't seen it. It don't mean that it's not there.
I love it. I love it. What is that? What's the scripture? Faith is now the things that are not seen. Is that right? Is that right?
Faith is girl, now you got me messed up. Hold up.
Is it faith is the substance of the things not yet seen? That's it. If that's not it, that's gonna be it. Faith is the substance of the things not yet seen.
You're gonna have people thinking like, what kind of minister is she? She don't know the scripture. It's easy. It's easy when people don't. You messed it up, girl. Faith is substance of things not seen and those hope for. Oh, shoot.
Thank you.
Let's go.
That's exactly what I mean. It's coming.
Look,
it's coming.
It is.
See, I didn't even put you out there like that. You did that.
No, I did. I'm gonna tell, because listen, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen.
Gotcha.
That's Hebrews 11:1.
I knew that was Hebrews. I knew it was 1:1. Hebrews 11:1.
Now faith is the substance.
That's one of my favorites.
Hope for and the evidence of things not seen.
That is one of my favorite scriptures, as well as be anxious for nothing, but to everything, prayer and supplication, make your requests be known.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And I really do love to whom is able, that we should give praise or worship to whom is able to do all things exceedingly abundantly and above all we can ever ask or think. Girl, I be in my prayer closet like, okay, Lord, you had said that you could do all things exceedingly abundantly above all I can ask and think. I'll be asking big things, Lord. I'll be having big thoughts, Lord. I'm big, Lord.
Listen, in all transparency, me and God had to have this conversation where I was just like, God, you know what? It's not that I don't trust you. It's just that I just ain't seen it happen. And you seem to be real quiet right now. There was a time when you wouldn't shut up. Like today, you just want to be silent.
See, there you go.
Me and God have to have these conversations. No, I'm gonna be transparent because I think a lot of times people need ministers and people who believe in God to be transparent, to know that like sometimes your faith in God looks like, okay, when you gonna show up? Like you ain't showed up.
I agree. With you saying that, I'm wondering, is there a link in the description? Like, do our viewers know that you are a minister, that you are ordained, that you studied and all that good stuff? Because they're gonna be like, what? This don't gotta go over their head. Yes, my LaDonna is a minister.
I mentioned it like once or twice. Once or twice, literally once or twice.
So that is cool. I love that transparency. I think it's important. I like the fact that you said some people are waiting for God to show up and they have these doubts, and you could actually be a minister and have doubts. You know what I mean? I think that's really
all the time. Listen, there have been times when I preach sermons. Okay, a whole nother transparent. Like, listen, I have prepared sermons times like before time. Let's say I knew a week before that I had to prepare a sermon. The night before, like, it's not that I have not been preparing, but it's like the night before, I'm like, I still don't know. I'm like, I'm praying, and like nothing that I've written is coming, is working, and I'm like, this just don't feel like it's it. I remember this one time we were on our way to church. I had to, and I'm sitting in the back seat, like, okay, God, like, listen, I wrote this thing and it just don't feel right. Like it does not feel right. When I tell you, I didn't have anything when I went on stage, and I was just like, is you gonna show up? Like, because I mean, like,
so you had something prepared, but you didn't feel like it was suitable for the moment. And once you got on the stage, you decided not to go with it.
It did not feel right. Like, you know, like you've had those times when like you prepared something and you like, this just don't fit well in my spirit. Like, this isn't what's supposed to happen. Girl, when I tell you, I went up on stage and I'm sitting here like, okay, God, is you gonna come through or not? And like my prayer is always, Lord God, all of you and none of me. Okay. Yeah. Your words and not mine. And like we started talking about Jonah. And like whatever it was that I can't even tell you the message right now. Like, because it was like
But is that what they call a rhema word? A right now word? Mm-hmm. Is that so it came through in the clutch. So see, I would take you back to so you trying to control God. You know what I'm saying? You sitting up here, you're trying to control the way it comes and when it comes, how fast it comes. But you can't. You just gonna have to you're gonna have to just be accepting and trusting.
Look, I'm like, yeah, it's easy for you to say when you ain't on that stage.
I have been on stages and that has happened. Like, I'll have one thing in mind, but then when I get there, I'm like, wow, like I don't even think this is not the place for this, or this is not the I'm not feeling what's on paper in this moment. So the moment shifts my entire piece. You know what I mean? And it could be a poem, or sometimes it could be something that I'm supposed to talk about. So it's like I'm gonna have something like this, I'm gonna have something prepared, but once I get there, I'm just flowing from the heart. And most times, those are the times that I wish I could say, roll the camera, because most times the things that come from the heart are more impactful than what I had planned. Not only is it more impactful, but it's like double-edged, because while I'm giving, I'm receiving at the same time. It's like I'm the first partaker. As it's coming through me, it's like, oh, did you hear that, Maya? You know? So that's the time. Those are times. If I had any regrets, I've been doing a lot of speaking, a lot of spoken word, and there's so many times that I have not had anyone to record. It wasn't until Zion got to a certain age and she started videotaping me, and even then, like, not very often. But there's so many events or situations that I should be. Roll that beautiful bean footage. You know what I'm saying? But I don't have the bean footage.
No, you didn't. Just okay. Bush's beans, girl. You're not a sponsor of this video. So let me tell you what I do. All of my sermons, all of my sermons have always been recorded. Like, I always have my phone, and like I record them on my phone. I'm not gonna say anybody ever hears them. It's just for me, for me alone, and like so that I can have them. And like I say that I don't remember what I said, but it's on here.
That's perfect. That's good. And you know, and really for you, like you said, there for you, I could see further down the line where, or even further down the line, I could see later on tonight where you're actually playing one of your sermons and you're adding images to the vote, you know what I mean? To teach, like you're adding images to kind of like to show, not kind of like absolutely show, to give a visual of your stories. Like you're kind of creating your own little parables. It's not your own parables because you're coming from the Bible, but it would be great. It's like, okay, your sermons could be turned into their own visual Bible stories or a visual sermon. You could create these different images. You could actually edit them. You could add songs in between. You could do so much with that. I like that.
Oh, girl. Listen, I love how we do that for each other. Girl, I receive it. I receive it. I love how we have that relationship, how we can see something for each other. I love that.
Yes. That happens a lot. That happens a lot. I'm like at my wit's end. I'm not even thinking, and you got a whole program lined up for me.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, girl. Okay, so we've been talking about this. I want to ask you, how do you create?
It's different. It's different for different pieces. Most times I do a lot of research. Sometimes whatever is just there just flows out of me. Like if it's something that's commissioned, then I'm doing a lot of research. Most of my stuff is stuff that's experienced, so it's flowing out of me. I do have a piece where there are two instances where I can remember writing. One of them where I was trying to sleep, right? It's like 2 a.m. I'm tossing, I'm turning. I know it had to have been close to 3 a.m. I'm tossing, I'm turning, trying to get sleep, but I can't sleep because I feel like I hear words being whispered in my ear. And so I was like, man, that sounds so good. Like, ooh, I like the order of the words. I like what I'm hearing. But I don't want to get up. I don't want to write it down. I'm saying to myself, okay, I'm gonna write this down. I'm gonna write this down in the morning. And it felt like spirit himself, like God was like, nah, you need to get up and write this down now. You're gonna forget the order. So it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, almost 3 a.m. I get up, I sit to the kitchen table, and I just start writing these words that I'm hearing, which sounds like someone is just whispering in my ear. And once I got it all out, I went back to sleep. Right? That's one instance. That was pretty cool. That poem was actually called Genesis. Genesis. Let me see. Can I share Genesis?
Girl, yes.
Yeah.
Let me stop my screen so you can take over.
So Genesis is the poem. Like I said, I heard someone whispering in my ear, and my cousin would always tell me. My cousin Jeanette, she's like, "Girl, that's just God, that man whispering those ears in your those words in your ears. He's on the way." I'm like, okay, I'm waiting, Genesis. I've seen you before. Maybe in another lifetime, on another, but I've seen you. While God Almighty was creating me, see, as the great creator was creating my right arm, the left was done. He placed us side by side, and right then we felt as one. He formed my head, my ears, nose, and toes, and then he spoke my eyes into existence. He placed the fire burning in your belly so hot and strong it made me sweat. I wanted to kiss you, even though my mouth wasn't formed yet. God gave you a back strong enough to carry a nation and me the heart to nurture it. He gave you hands to build and heal, and me the strength and the ability to assist and reveal his real purpose. He gave you feet led by righteousness, knees strong enough to bend and be humble, and legs well enough to rise up and carry out his purpose. And I saw that. I saw you. Mouths formed, lips tender and sweet. We kissed. I seen you before. You are what my soul was made for. That's Genesis. That's what God was whispering in my ear that night. And wouldn't let me sleep until I wrote it down. Right? That's
I'm so happy that you were obedient to that voice.
Listen, and then there are other times where it's like, that was fun. That was enjoyable, right? But then I was actually practicing this poem. I was getting ready to speak at an event for Delta Sigma Theta at Spelman College. There's a poem that I have where I talk about being molested as a child. And there's a line in that poem. And so every time I got to that line, I kept feeling like a heaviness in my chest, like I was being pushed to hush. And so I know people are like, this chick crazy. But this is honestly my experience. And keeping in line with transparency. So I keep feeling this heaviness on my chest. I keep feeling like I'm being like pushed like to stop. And I honestly feel like it's like a female ancestral spirit, like an older person just asking me to be quiet, telling me to hush. So every time I get to that point, the more she presses on my chest, the more I start to feel heaviness or sad, or like I guess a sense of betrayal maybe. And so I stopped speaking because I started while she was telling me to stop.
You stopped speaking because what now?
Because I could feel like I could hear like this ancestral spirit speaking to me. I could hear words that were like just flowing. So it was kind of scary. So I'm in tears. I stopped speaking. I sat down because usually when I practice for you, I stand up. But I sit down and I started just writing. Like I could barely see the paper because tears were flowing. Eyes were filled with tears. And the whole time I was just kind of like writing until, and I usually like to figure out like what's a synonym for this word? What's a great double entendre? Like how can I do some wordplay on this? Like what I didn't do, and it was like I was in a trance. I was like I'm crying, all right. And when I'm done, all I can do is put the pen down and just be like, guys, God needs to break me free from this. I need to be broken free from the feeling of heaviness whenever I tell my story. I think when looking back, I feel like that was probably the first time I stopped telling my story as a victim and started telling it as a victor. And I think breaking or transforming from victim to victor, I think that was the painful part. You know what I mean? So I think those tears and that fear was a part of the transition. Because after I wrote the poem that came from that, the old lady, the ancestral spirit, she was basically she was asking me, how dare you? How dare you? How dare you tell these secrets? Like, how dare you done to you? Like, she was basically telling me, nobody else told. She was like, nobody spoke for me. There were just so many things she was telling me, and eventually my tears went from fear of being a betrayer or of exposing secrets to sorrow for anyone else that endured that came before me. Like not just my family members that are my age or younger or that I know, family members that I don't know. Like that ancestral spirit, like who did that to her? Like what happened? What has you at the point to where you would defend something that you know is so horribly wrong, and that you would come back from a whole other realm and time to attack me and ask me to be quiet? You know what I mean? So how dare you? I actually have that video on YouTube. On YouTube is How Dare You by MayaHouston. You can actually check that out.
Yeah, so I'll post the link too. Girl, we got a lot of links to post, which I love.
And my website, Journee Publications.com. Don't forget that, because they could always get their copy of the book, Journee the Soul of a Poet. there. I actually also have, check me out on Instagram. I'm on Instagram. I'm Maya1 on Instagram. On Facebook, I'm Maya C. Houston or The Soul of This Poet. Check me out there. And I pretty much toggle between Instagram and Facebook regularly. I try to post things. Not enough poems. I need to post more poetry. And I promise to do that. My goal is to do one a week at first, and then maybe I'll do 2 a week moving forward.
He's like, you looked at me like, I was like, okay, you sure? Okay. I'm going to be hitting you.
I know you're going to hold me accountable.
I feel like everybody going to hold you accountable now. So where's this poem?
High five.
And then my next question is, when we going to get another book?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because, I've been holding on to this one,
So grateful to you for that. Thank you. When are we going to get another book? So there is it is in the computer. It just needs to be edited. I need to really decide on what's going in it. This first book here, this was actually I say it's my first book, but it's actually my second book because the first one I printed out of my bedroom at my mother's house. I was still living with my mom, and I bought the little spiral, what's it called? The little spiral ends, the binding. And it's so about like my mom is so amazing, right? So when I did that, there were probably 7 poems, 12 pages altogether. So my mom took the time, she wrote my bio for me. She's like, what you getting ready to do? I'm getting ready to print these poems out of my notebook and just sell them at the oil shop at the mall, right? $7 a piece, right? So she took the time, she wrote my bio for me for that. I'm sitting at the house and I'm printing them out on the printer, 5 copies at a time, you know what I'm saying? So she's like, but how are you going to put it together? I'm like, I think I'm going to do the spiral binding. When I looked up again, not only had she written my bio, but she had gone to Office Depot and she bought the spiral hole punch, the whole machine. I was like, oh, Mama. I didn't ask her to do it. I wasn't expecting her to do it, but she saw what I was doing and she didn't speak on it. She went into action. And so she's awesome, man. She does things like that. So I printed them up. I sold them. This is way before Zion was born. Before Zion was even thought of, child. I was working at the mall at the oil spot. So I printed them up and I would sell them for $7 a pop. Just enough probably to buy more ink, So then I was encouraged by my pastor, Reverend Holt, who's my pastor at the time at Royal Baptist, I would let him read my journals. My mom was like, you did what? I said, I gave him my journal secret. She said, oh, hell, we about to get put out the church. Well, we're not gonna do that, right? so he
in them journals.
Everything. Talk about transparency. Everything.
Girl, why'd you let him reach your
Because I was searching. It was a lot. I was like, I'm rewriting this stuff down. I still ain't getting no answers. Like, I need something. Just like, hey, Pastor, what you think about this? My mom was like, oh, hell, we about to put out the church. Every time Pastor would see me, he'd be like, I was like, what? You get ready? What? We getting put out? He's like, no. I said, you getting ready to douse me with holy water? No, he said, I got things to do with the holy water. He was like, no. He says, what you need to do is he says, write the book. He's like, write the book. Let's get 500 copies going. I'm going to promote you. You're going to sell them here at the church to start. He says, write the book. And I'm thinking, I'm trying to find $27 to pay my water bill. About 500 copies, right? so that happened. That was the second book. So really, when is the third book coming? Working on it. It's actually in the computer. It's just a matter of me. My point is that this was so, there's a lot of things that I would do differently here. I've taken creative writing classes since I published this. This was a self-publication. I started my own publishing company just to get it out, because as I was trying, people would tell you things and they would not deliver, or they would ask you to promise them things in exchange. I had a man that was extremely inappropriately sexual with me, like over the phone. And that was like, he was like, I'm going to show you, I'm going to teach you, and you're going to publish. I got this many books published. I know these people in the industry. And at the same time, when we were having a conversation, he was being like, I can't even tell you what he was doing. He was so inappropriate. And it was at that point I said, well, we're not going to do that. Like, I'm going to find a book on self-publishing. I'm going to read it. I'm going to learn step by step. I'm going to purchase my own ISBN. And this was my first thing out the gate. Like, just reading and learning on my own. So there are lots of things here. This is not to take away from what's here. It's a pretty good job to say that this was my first time. And I feel like something of this quality and of this thickness and the content, I feel like this is a good job. I also feel like it could be next level. And so the goal is not only to edit this one, to take it to the next level, but to make the second one better than the third one, better than the first two. So
what I hear,
it's underway.
Right? Like, what I hear is every time you publish a book, you just become a greater, better writer. And like, this is growth. So like your first book was like this spiral pamphlet book you sold for $7, and then you made this. Like, girl, you know, I remember when I first met you, I think I was like, oh, you wrote a book, let me buy it. Cause like, I remember just loving you instantly, and I loved your spirit. And I was like, I want to support you. And so I still have this book. And you signed it inside, and you gave me my like own personal thing. And like, you didn't even know me well to like.
I promise you, I knew you well enough to write. You read that inscription. Here's the thing: it doesn't take long to know enough about someone to be able to have an idea about how you feel about them.
Yeah.
So I guarantee you, if you read that inscription today, I don't care how long ago it was, you wouldn't be able to look at it and say, this doesn't match. I bet it's fitting, because one thing I try to do is be sincere in what I write to people. I try to connect with people on purpose. So I didn't have to know you very long, but I promise you, I pay attention to all my connections, because I feel like they're all very important. Yeah. And you never know which ones are going to grow. You never know which ones are going to be for a short period of time. So I feel like, okay, every one of my connections are deliberate, sincere, and I'm constantly trying to figure out, what am I supposed to give? What am I supposed to get? So I loved you back then.
Yeah, I mean, it was just destined, I believe. Like, it was just, and for us to like continue on. And
absolutely,
thank you for sharing that story about like your ancestor coming to you, and like your poem, Genesis. And thank you for having the bravery to step out on faith and to write this second book that I didn't even know about the first. So how can I get the first?
You can't get the first. I may have one or two copies that I kind of kept tucked to the side just because it was a first venture. I'll probably have a picture of it. When I find the picture, I'll post it for you, and I'm gonna tag you on it. But you can't get it. Like, I still have the whole bunch. You want me to go back and print?
I'm sitting here like, listen, I'm cool. I have a collection. Like, I thought this was the first book. And now you telling me that there's another one? Like,
Yep, there's a second book. Yep. Listen,
better pull out the printer and
I
that
need to pull out.
and the machine so you can print some second editions.
So we're a bit more advanced. I can find my copy that I got tucked away in the box, take it to the Office Depot, and doom, 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 get some copies, and I can.
I want it just like how you made the first one. That's what I want.
I still listen. I still got the
I
spiral
want the
hole
hard
punch.
knock copy.
I still got the hard knock spiral punch. That thing, that lever all heavy. I promise you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you a picture of that too.
I don't want no picture. I said I want the hard knock copy. Isn't that what?
A picture of the press, the hole punch.
It don't matter. Like, we'll put it in the museum next time. But
A whole museum.
yes.
Listen, I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for having me. I know we're getting ready to close out. I was wondering if I could close out with a poem that I wrote recently.
Yes. So that's how we'll end with your poem. And I want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in. And I know, I'm not even gonna say I hope, I know that you were coming away with something. I just know that someone was on this call that just needed to hear what was said. Whatever it was, I know that you needed it, and someone on this call, either now or later, it might be a year from now, but I know that all of us will walk away with something. And the thing that I'm walking away with is it takes all kinds.
Yes. Shout out to my mommy. Yes. It takes all kinds. I just want to thank you for creating this platform. This is really good. I love this. I love the format. I think it allows people to kind of come into the intimate spaces that you share with the people that you're connected with, because it's straight up conversations. It's like kind of like a interview style, but not really. And I think that is brilliant. I love that. This feels like one of the nights we were on the phone until 4 a.m. No, we got to get up at 6. Like,
I'm not gonna say no times. Last night. Well, last night.
On the phone so long, the iPhone 9 hung up on us 3 times.
It's like I'm done. I'm done. I'm tired. As tired.
Thank you for this. Thank you for having me. Thank you for supporting and loving me and believing in me. I'm looking forward to doing this again with you.
Yay, thank you, sis. And again, we hear another poem from our neighborhood historian and friend and sister, MayaHouston.
Thank you. This piece is called Growing Pains. Most times I am so careful about the words and feelings I share with you for fear of being done in by you. I've learned that your passion, even if ill-directed, misconceived, or misperceived, is an attempt to protect and maintain what you love. My adolescent eyes couldn't begin to contrive. I've learned that you are the safest thoughts, feelings, deeds, and my dreams. I now understand that our milk-fed tactics of earning this massively divine love that encompassed us even before conception has been tossed about by our own tender, infantile perceptions. No matter what or who falls into the path of this destined union, they are unfortunate and temporary distractions. Over the years, frequent undeveloped actions repeatedly pushed us apart. It took multiple myocardial infarctions of the heart to learn the difference between destructive pain and growing pains. Adolescent mind, spirit, keep me from collecting your energy, a mirrored flame that never dies. No matter how many separations until we get it right, there are no goodbyes. Growing pains.